What's up, everybody? Welcome back to r.Gaming on After the Storm. This is episode number 34 of the NHL 2004 franchise mode series. We're only one away before we start simulating. And I actually was just playing this Ottawa game, and halfway through the game crashed. So that is the joy of technology and trying to emulate stuff. So yeah, we're just going to simulate that one because I was literally like in the final minute of the third period tied up. So we're just going to simulate it. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going to work. And a 3-2 win. Okay, so there you go. If we ended up winning the game 3-2, that makes a lot more sense. We're going to go with that. I'm just sitting here thinking, you know what? Let's get ourselves to the playoffs. I mean, just doing an extra episode is not going to make much of a difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves to the playoffs. We're going to start the simulation aspect now, and then we're going to play around with the lines, and we'll just kind of go from there, maybe week by week, and then just take a look at what's happened and try to keep an eye on when we have some people coming back from injury. I'm really excited to get the playoffs going, so that's why I want to do this, and finish up here with 2004 because I'm really excited to get into 2005. So we got a 2-1 win, so we both one-goal victories against Ottawa and Washington here, but yeah, so we're gonna simulate this out, and I'll simulate the full week, and then kind of keep an eye on things for you guys. So we started off this week with a 3-3 tie against the New Jersey Devils, then a 4-2 win against one of the top teams in the league, the Dallas Stars. Came back and won against the Devils again, and then a loss against our state rival Pittsburgh, which is a little tough, just because that's Pittsburgh, and we should probably beat them, but not a whole lot of worries there. That's a pretty good week for us. And as we enter the final 8 games of the season here, we're sitting 41, 21, 7, and 5, 94 points. We have officially locked up our division, which is great, so we're guaranteed at least third place in the conference. Of course, I think it's more likely that we can battle Boston here for, second in the East. I should actually sort this by the Eastern Conference. Actually, we're sitting second right now because we're ahead of Tampa, so that's good. But yeah, so we're looking at it right here. Again, this could all change. Look how just tightly packed this is. I would say probably Buffalo, Carolina, and Montreal right now are probably the teams that are going to be cut off. I don't think they'll make it. But anything from the Rangers to Pittsburgh here is very tight. That's just a 3-point gap. Any of these teams could end up making it, so it's not solidified yet. I've been talking about that we potentially will be facing Ottawa in the first round. We're not solidified yet on who we're going to have, but as we go through the next week and simulate all these games, we'll take a look and see who, as Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh's actually jumped up into the playoffs, which is not what I expected. They were one of the worst teams a little while ago, so they could easily miss, of course. The gap here is just, again, that's a 4-point gap between being fifth and getting a favorable matchup and being completely out of the playoffs. So it's a very tight race as we narrow it down here at the end. So as we're looking back at this week, a 4-3 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs and a 3-2 win against the New York Rangers. Strangely enough, when I simmed past the 21st here, it actually said that was the trade deadline. So that's really late into the season. That's like the 75, 76 game mark. I didn't realize you could ever make trades that late into a season, but yeah, this used to be quite different. So as we're through there, we're going to sim up right to this Carolina game and then check the standings. So as we look at the Eastern Conference here, the playoff picture, we're still sitting second above. We're tied in points, but it's probably based on wins with Boston here. Eyeing up a matchup with Washington if we were to start today. It's still 6 games to go. Again, this is a really tight little race here. Again, 8th place is 79 points. All of these teams are in it. So it's very tight as we come down the stretch here. So as we get to the 1st of April here, we're going to have a really clear picture, I think, of what the playoffs will look like as we only have 3 games left of the season. Take a look at this week, though. We went perfect. A 3-2 win against Carolina, a 1-0 win against the Islanders, and a 4-2 win against the Rangers. Again, we're not helping out the teams in our division all that much, as they try to make the playoffs, but we'll go take a look at the standings here. 3 games or 2 games left for some teams, and we only have 4 spots in the Eastern Conference locked up. As opposed to the Western Conference, actually, they only have 5, so they're on a tight little race, too. Look at this. Look at this division right here. Z, I guess, cannot make playoffs, so they used to be clinched conference. So, again, there's a couple teams there that are eliminated. Again, no teams in the Southeast eliminated from playoff contention. The Rangers are, because they've played 81, but Pittsburgh, the Devils, and the Islanders are not. Montreal's the only team in the East eliminated from the Northeast Division. But taking a look, I don't think there's going to be many teams. There's 8 teams total that are eliminated from this playoff contention right now. But yeah, this is it's going to come down right to the wire, and we might check them after every game here. So I did want to preview. We're still sitting second. We're behind Tampa by only 2 points, so it is possible we win the Eastern Conference. But right now we're looking at a matchup with Washington. It looks like Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Ottawa, and Carolina are really going to battle for that 8th spot. But it seems like 7 through 5 here is up for grabs. So Florida, Atlanta, Washington, I would say, is more likely that we're going to see one of those teams as opposed to one of these ones. So we got the 3-2 win against the Montreal Canadiens. Let's take a look at the standings as we enter the next day games. The Leafs have locked up a playoff spot. We're a point behind Tampa now. I guess it turns out they got a point. Yeah, 15 ties on the year. So Atlanta, Pittsburgh. I guess, all these teams are still technically in it because of the way the standings are. All these teams could technically make playoffs, so not mathematically eliminated yet. That's a crazy little thing to have for 2 games left in the season. 5-1 win against the Sens. And we're going to take a look at the standings again. Still only the Leafs have locked up a playoff spot, so this is a battle for the 7th, 8th, and 9th spots in the conference here. Buffalo could win a game and get in, probably knocking out... Looks like Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta could miss, technically. I guess they could if both Pittsburgh and Buffalo win. But if Atlanta manages a point, they should be in. But this one's going to come right down to the wire. I'd be very curious to know if any of these teams are actually playing each other. That would be really cool. It would be great to be able to watch one of those games, right? You could do that in NHL 2003. You could go and find all the different games around the league and actually go watch them. But right down to the wire there. Let's take a look at the Western Conference. Just a battle between Phoenix and Calgary. Phoenix has to win their final game in order to make the playoffs there. So Calgary in the Western Conference, we just simmed ahead one day here. Calgary still has a game remaining. Phoenix has finished up, so Calgary has to win their final game of the season in order to qualify in the West. Los Angeles, a team that missed, actually a bit surprising. They were very good at this time. Minnesota had come off just I believe they had just been in the Western Conference Finals against Anaheim the previous season. But taking a look at the Eastern Conference here, we have got all of our playoff spots locked up. Pittsburgh has slid into the playoffs. One of the worst teams in real life this season, as they geared up to get Malkin and Crosby right around this time. But they slide in and get 8th position. By the looks of it, I would say Pittsburgh could go up and get 7th. They just got to win their final game. But this looks like we're going to be facing one of Atlanta or Pittsburgh to start the playoffs. So a 6-1 win for us as we finish out the season. Let's check. Let's see if we get what happened here. If this looks like looks like all the simulation is done. Every team has finished their season. So we'll take a look at the Western Conference here. Phoenix ended up securing their playoff spot. Calgary could not win that final game. And in the East, we ended up winning the conference. We got ahead of Tampa just by a point on that final game. And we took first place in the Eastern Conference. And we're going to face our state rivals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, in round 1. There's no other way I'd really want to start this, honestly. A great rivalry. Let's really get into it. Washington, Toronto, an interesting first-round matchup there. Boston, Florida, Tampa, Atlanta. We'll go preview the playoff bracket as it becomes available so you guys can see it a little bit better. The good news is, as well, we should have everybody back, too. That'll be one of the best aspects of all this is we're going to have a ton of players back in the lineup. Gagne, Lume, Amante should all be back. I don't believe they played since they got injured. I didn't make any changes to the lineup as I was simulating. But they should all be back, and we should have a full-strength lineup heading into the first round against Pittsburgh. Taking a look at our lines as we're heading into the playoffs, Amante draws back in. He's off his injury. Tkachuk is actually on a hot streak. Gagne back in. Recchi on a hot streak, too. Kapanen and Brendamore Verbata as the third line, and Knutson. Brashear, Bears in right now. Pronger, McKinnis, Ragnarsson, Janssen. And Lume Tanabe makes up our third pairing, which is fantastic right now. It's good to have everybody at full strength heading into this playoffs. Potvin, of course. Potvin fatigued right now, but we're going to go with him because he's our best goaltender, of course, as we head into the playoffs. But as we take a look at the playoff tree here, guys, let's take a look at the Western Conference. Detroit, of course, the best team. Again, like as I mentioned, I think we're going to see Colorado and Detroit in that Western Conference final right here on the right side, as you guys can see. That's who I'm expecting to be in the conference finals. They're the two best teams. I don't know. Colorado might have to go through Dallas to get there. I would be very curious. Again, Chicago, not a great team at this time either. It's a bit of a surprise they actually made it. Columbus, another one there that is a shock that they made it as well. And then coming over and looking at the Eastern Conference, we come in first place against Pittsburgh in 8th. Tampa, Atlanta, in a Southeast Division clash. Boston, Florida, Washington, Toronto. So taking a look, I wanted to compare this to some of the actual real-life 2004 playoffs and see what changes have really been made here. So one notable thing here that I talked about a lot leading up to this is actually Ottawa missed. So Ottawa, of course, made the playoffs. They faced Toronto in round 1 and lost in this season as the 5th seed. But it's interesting that they missed because they looked like a really good team heading into this. I gotta say, so Montreal missed. They were also in the playoffs. The Islanders also have missed here. So there's a few teams, Washington, Atlanta, and Florida, I want to say, are the teams that did not actually qualify in real life and have qualified here. Also, another notable one, New Jersey and Pittsburgh. Sorry, Pittsburgh's another team that did not qualify. New Jersey, the reigning Stanley Cup champions, did not qualify in this season. So that's interesting to note. On the Western side, Detroit and Nashville were in a first round matchup. Obviously, Nashville did not make it. So Phoenix is one team in there that qualified for the playoffs and didn't in real life. Columbus, of course, this is when they were pretty bad. Vancouver, Colorado both qualified. Anaheim did not after going to the Stanley Cup Finals the year previous. And, of course, Chicago didn't either. So we have Anaheim, Chicago, Columbus Columbus and Phoenix as the teams that did not qualify in real life but have made it here. So interesting of note to see some of the difference in the simulation and stuff. We'll go take a look as we just wrap up the season here. A crazy situation here. Actually, I'm going to go take a look at him elsewhere because I can't take a look at him there. So taking a look at this is kind of shocking, really, honestly. Taking a look, all these players except for one, and it's the guy who won. He technically had a share of the Richard Trophy, played all 82 games. Jeff Sanderson. Just a shock there that he won the Art Ross and technically the Maurice Richard in this season. That's a bit of a shock for a guy who I don't know how many points he put up in real life in this season. In 2003-2004, Jeff Sanderson split time between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Vancouver Canucks. As, of course, you guys can see here, his team is LA. He obviously got traded. He only managed to put up 36 points. So this is wild. This is completely out of nowhere. Jeff Sanderson with a ton of points, a ton of goals. So that's good. I think he's on a team that qualified for the playoffs, I want to say. Boy, I really hope the LA Kings made the playoffs in this. Oh my God, they didn't. They had the leading goal scorer and the leading point getter in the league and managed to not qualify for the playoffs. So that's a bit shocking. I don't think there's going to be any awards out as of yet. Let's take a look, though. This is all from last year, so interesting to note. Take a look at goaltending as well. See who finished. The defensive scoring, 56 points. Gonchar, Boyle, and Jovanovski all finished tied. Potvin didn't have the most wins. He had 33 on the year, but I think he probably had the best goals against average for goalies that started any sort of. Him and Habib Bulin, of course, were two of the best in the league. But a 927 save percentage, I'm sure, is among starters that played a bunch of games. Gerber here as well. Actually, never mind. I'm looking at numbers of jerseys and not games played. So Potvin had the best, I would say, amongst, and then Leclerc. So Happy Bowling down here had an 895. Of course, everything was a little bit wonky with goaltending numbers in this season, of course. But yeah, Potvin also had 12 points. So, so that's going to do it, guys, for the regular season portion. I'm super excited to get started in the playoffs. Pittsburgh is a ideal team to start with. They're a little bit weaker. We've beat them a bunch of times in the season. Of course, we got to look out for Lemieux in this one, but I'm just excited to get going nonetheless. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. It's unfortunate we couldn't get through all the way through the 72 games that I had planned on playing, but nevertheless, it's a good feeling to be in the playoffs. We're almost done this series. It's been a really, really long one. 34 episodes so far. More to go because we got playoffs to go. The format for these ones, we're going to play them in 2-game sets until elimination games. Elimination games will be played in 1-game sets. So anything when you hit the 5, 6, and 7 range, if it's an elimination one, we'll have just 1 game for those episodes. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Of course, remember to like the video down below, subscribe to the channel, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.